being over reliant on others to
External
meet your
validations
needs,
and all that stuff.
yeah, can present as being too needy. And it doesn't mean that you don't have these needs. It just means that you also need to learn how to equip yourself with the tools to give yourself what you need. And that's where I feel like I identified as too needy. It's like, okay, like maybe I am asking too much of people around me, of my relationships, to give me things that I need when I am available as a resource to give those things to myself.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Buffet Podcast, brought to you by me, Brandan and Ciandra. Welcome to episode 93. Hey. This music is not going to work because I forgot to do that part, but it can still happen. There we go.
That's the year I was born. The year God gave me to y'all.
Yeah, sure.
And Crystal too. Crystal was born 93.
Shout out to Lil Sis. 93 was a good year. Good vintage. It's a good vintage, 93. Sits well on your palate. All right, how you feel, babe?
I feel good. It's nice finally. The weather, I think, is gonna stay. It's gonna turn hot.
I'm not with it. I ain't
stay
with it.
Stay that way, which is fantastic.
It's a nice 90. Well, it's a scorching 92 outside right now, but you know, with
1 degree
humidity and all that stuff, you know, it probably feels like something more than that. Yeah, okay. It's that heat where if you lay down, you'll fall asleep because your body just shuts down.
Yeah, it's kind of thick. I like it though.
I guess
it's good. And we had a good week. I think we had a
pretty productive. I hope everyone, you know, our listeners and everyone has had a good week, been productive, and you've able to accomplish the things that you set out to do, or on the path to accomplishing the things that you set out to do. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to keep these things positive. We wish you all of the successes. Success. Manifest it. All right, we ready?
Amuse bullshit. All right,
we're going to get it right into it, y'all. Bing bong. What else don't you get?
Are you guys really finding the one, or are we just picking one and going with it?
Listen, I was single for the last 4 years. I went on over 150 first dates. I was so sad about being single that I did my dissertation on romantic love and technology. So I've read a lot of the research here, and there's some really interesting insights. Long story short, people are picking, and they're happier for picking than for thinking that there's a perfect match out there. So 50% of singles in the Match.com study of 2022 found that they fell in love with someone who they initially weren't attracted to. Half of people. And 2, studies suggest that even believing in a soulmate or a perfect match sets you up for unhealthy relationship patterns. People who have a perfect match definition of love tend to experience overreactions to conflict and lower relationship satisfaction, versus people who define love or view a soulmate as a fellow traveler in a journey tend to have much more adaptive perspectives. So don't settle when it comes to values or someone treating you poorly, or God forbid you don't even like spending time with them, but be open-minded and give people a chance.
Are you guys really finding the one?
Ooh, I feel like we touched upon this topic.
We definitely have talked about it.
Like soulmates and do we believe in them and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I felt like this was a great, succinct way to revisit it.
With science.
Yeah, with some science and some survey research results around like, okay, if you believe that the person that you're with is a fellow traveler and you have that mindset and it's more about, okay, do I like this person? Do we share similar values? Are we going in the same direction even? That's enough to be able to make your relationship last, as opposed to the other superficial things that we use to determine whether or not we should be in a relationship with someone. But what do you think? Any other insights?
Yeah, I believe it. I believe what she said. It rings true to me, and it kind of aligns with my own personal belief system when it comes to like relationships and things of that nature. Because I'm not really a believer in like, there's this perfect match, you know, out there for you that, you know, when your soulmate or what have you. I think your soulmate is made. I think, you know, if that's the case, like if the soulmate thing doesn't exist, that's something that like you build. That's something that it's your fellow traveler that you meet, and then y'all make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And in hearing when you're saying that instead of looking at it from a more superficial lens, sometimes I think that people who have that idea in their mind, like of like, oh, the perfect one, like what did she say? People who have that kind of thinking, was it overreact with conflict and
have greater dissatisfaction,
right? And I think a lot of that is just that, that expectation. Like, I guess people have coming in and having that expectation that everything is going to be perfect, and then when it's not perfect, it's because the other person isn't like a match.
Uh-huh.
It's because, oh, I guess I wasn't really attracted to you. Oh, it must mean because I don't like how you chew your food, or you start just like we were talking about. I can't remember way back when with Myron Golden about how the price is part of the branding, and then like if you charge them whatever amount of money, the person who's paying is going to find a reason for that to be worth it for them. You got to be really bad for them to be like, I think the opposite is also true. So it's like, what I'm saying, when it's things don't feel right to them, or they're going through like a unexpected conflict or barrier, or what have you, their mind just will conjure up a reason why it can't work or it shouldn't work or what have you, instead of just being like, this is not necessarily a barrier, but this is something that you can work through or work past or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think another thing to this idea of having a soulmate is the way that our brains work when we want something. Often the anticipation of the thing is the dopamine hit, not the actual thing. And so if you're expecting a soulmate, there's like all of this, I don't know, energy that you've put into this soulmate, these experiences, these expectations that you have, and anticipating that thing feels much better than the real thing because you already have so many expectations of it. And I feel like I told you this before of like, there's some research that has been done around like receiving gifts. And if you receive material gift, an item, you get like a happiness from it that is immediate, but it doesn't last as long because, it's an item. It's going to become a part of your routine, whatever. But then when you get an experience, the initial feeling of it isn't as exciting, but the long-term benefits of it are what last. And so I think if you think of a soulmate as a material, I acquire this person, right? Like the hit of it is only but so long, as opposed to thinking of it with a fellow traveler mindset. It's like, okay, this person is a part of the experience. Like there's going to be some moments that are not so exciting or happy or helpful. But overall, like I'm going to look back on even those experiences that weren't so happy with a different kind of gaze. And I'll still have that person with me and it'll still be worthwhile.
I like that.
Yeah. So you got to know how your own mind works. That's a part of the trick.
But
because...
Go ahead.
Because when you don't understand that your mind just works in this way, and that all of our minds work in this way, except what I'm talking about, like the anticipation part of it and the material versus the experience. If you don't know that and you just watch TV or pop culture, you probably do have an expectation that something is wrong. I have fallen victim to something is wrong because this ain't how
it doesn't. Like Dizzy said, it's going to be like this, and it's not feeling like. It's like I feel happy, but I don't feel like I'm top of the world every day when I wake up, and birds ain't singing every day. Something ain't right.
I must be in the wrong place.
What is it? Perfect is the thief of joy. What is it? Perfection is the thief of joy, or something like that. But in order for people to know how their mind works, it would require a certain amount of self-awareness and
research, learning,
and
introspection, reflection.
I was going to say accountability as well.
Oh, accountability.
That a lot of people just aren't willing. I think it's more of a willingness than a capability to really face. It's easier to be like, ain't nothing out here. Or like every person I'd ever dated ever has all been trash. Than to say like I came across a good amount of pretty decent people, but because of XYZ reasons, I didn't recognize it, or I fumbled the bag, or what have you. It's easier just to say every person ever, which is weird, which I find weird that people are more willing to admit that, like, yeah, my ability to choose and pick a person is atrocious, than to admit that, like, I fucked up, or I wasn't willing to do the little bit of work to do the thing, do a little bit of work, or to stick through it, or what have you.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think when people hear that they haven't found the one yet, my ability to choose is atrocious is the first thought.
I know they don't want to think that, but that's the argument that could be made. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you've been dating since for how long? And every person that you've dated have all had, everybody's been, what's the word, the mental health word that everybody is overusing for no reason now?
Toxic.
Toxic is one of them. Narcissistic.
Oh.
Everyone's a narcissist. Every person is toxic. Everyone ain't about nothing. All of them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do think that it's all mindset, because
it absolutely is.
You in some regards choose the person who is going to be the best mirror for you. Like, you like things about them, you're interested in things about them, but as you get to know someone more, they reflect back to you either inefficiencies or like traumas or just areas for growth for you. And so if you keep choosing the same person or the same type of person, you clearly haven't learned your lesson. Like, you're aware enough that, like, and potentially, I don't know for sure, but like most people are aware enough of, like, I like this type of person, and because I keep choosing this type of person, that's why my relationships are unsuccessful. Okay, but the reason that you're still attracted to that type of person has more to do with you than it does with them. Mm-hmm. So you have to address what it is in you that's attracting a person who has a fragile ego, or a person who's a liar, or a person who is unfaithful. Like, what in you, or
controlling, or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever the thing is that isn't allowing you to have a healthy relationship with that person. What is it in you that keeps drawing that same type of person to you?
Yeah, and I think that the same can be said for men when it comes to looking, for a woman. I don't want to make it seem like I'm here just like, hey, women are just terrible pickers and stuff like that. I'm saying, there are some dudes out here who, I'm saying, there are guys out here who also have a idealized version of what being in a relationship is, on the very, like, Disney-esque side is on one side, but also on the, like, overly sexualized, like, oh, as long as I got the money, anything could fly. As long, like, I can kind of do whatever type of situation. Like, I think that goes from both sides, or they would allow themselves to be treated any type of way by a woman, get played with by the wrong type of woman because they look good, or because niggas is lonely. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, so. There's some growth and improvement that, and self-reflection, all that good stuff that can be had on both sides, which is very true. If it can just happen, we would have better outcomes. If there was enough after action reports on, like, why am I unsuccessful at this thing, mm-hmm. like, and actually breaking down and recognize, okay, this is the issue that I have. How can I not have? How can I make sure this does not impede me in the future? What do I need to adjust in my game plan in order to make that happen? And I don't think that happens enough on either side of the gender, whatever, sides, men or women.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I got another clip. You want to hear it?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, are we done with this? What do you I guess I had a kind of a question a little bit that's kind of building up. Is hearing, I guess, well, the question would be, what would you say, or what advice, or what should people be doing, I guess, instead, because we can identify the issue. We can say, Disney has definitely lied to women a lot. The world has lied to women.
All of
like
us.
all of us. The world has lied to men, and by the world, I can kind of feel like it's marketing. It's just we've been marketed a untruth, many untruths, fake news, as a former president once said. How can we combat this? Is like at this point, is it possible to like fully combat the? If it seems so very pervasive.
I do think that it's pervasive, but I do think that it's possible to combat it because it, at the end of the day, is an individual kind of choice, logic, and reasoning that is within your scope of control. You get to control your choices. You get to control who you date, how you date, when you date, all of those kind of things. And so I do think that it's possible to change it for the better, especially if you're interested in romantic relationships. And I think the first step is identifying where you're currently at. Like the first step is always awareness. Like you got to know where you're currently at. What are you seeking? Why are you seeking it? Like what are your patterns? Things like that. You got to become aware. After you gain that awareness, I think the next step is acceptance. Like, okay, this is what it is, but what do I want it to be? Because you have to accept it before you can ultimately change it. So like, this is what it is, kind of get to a place where you sit with that, understand it, and then think about what you want it to be and take active steps towards that.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever that ideal outcome is, take active steps towards that. Because I do think that there's a certain element of like luck in love. Like sometimes it is not just enough to be a good person and be interested in people. I think that there's a certain element of luck in it, but that element of luck is I don't know, 10% out of the 100% of things that are required to make a relationship kind of stick.
Yeah, I agree with that. And luck is, it's just kind of like being ready, and an opportunity, there's and I think that we are so used to things being convenient that if the opportunity comes, but it's not in a convenient package, we are likely to say nah.
That's true too.
Because with the idea is just like, nah, there's got to be a more convenient way. Like convenience is always an option. We've grown up to like know that convenience is the thing. You either got to pay more money for it or what have you. So it's like right now, like I see the opportunity right there, and you probably a good place, but I'm gonna let that go because maybe I feel like I'm not in a space in my life where I can give you the time that I want, or I feel like I got more time in the streets that I want to give. So I think for a lot of times with this, if the luck doesn't strike at a convenient enough time for them, for the person, they're not likely to take advantage of it, or maybe even recognize it.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's like I've heard many times, this person was perfect, but, and then it was something minor that it'd be something that like, this is the person I would like, but I met them a month too soon, or like I just didn't like. He said this one thing and it kind of just completely like turned me off, but it was like based off of something that the guy had no way to know. Like objectively, the issue is with you because like it's more of like how you reacted to it, as opposed to like they did something that was like offensive or whatever. They look perfect, but they wearing a dangling earring.
That's a red flag.
Oh, he's celebrating his birthday. That's zesty.
That's not a red flag, but that dangling earring is a red flag. I don't trust it.
I get there must be some rules that women came up with, but I don't know. I don't know one way. I just think some of these things seem a little far fetched. Like you disqualifying off an earring that can be taken off. Like you say, hey, I don't like you when you wear them earrings. Okay, babe. I'm not so tied to an earring that I'm willing to throw away my soulmate for it.
That's true. But I think that's part of the flaw of the soulmate mindset in general,
My
though. It's
soulmate
like,
would never do
exactly. If you already have this very cookie cutter expectation for how this person is supposed to show up and what package they're
this.
supposed
You
to
got
be
9 to
delivered
5.
in,
I can never be with a man 9 to 5. I need them to be
yeah,
an entrepreneur.
Then all of that is going to be a barrier, a brick in the wall that makes it challenging for you to be able to see what options are available to you. I really think you got to take a project management type of mindset to it. Like,
speak on it.
What's the problem here? Is the problem that you want to have companionship? Is the problem that you want to have, a certain status? And a part of that status is having a man. Like, what is actually the identified problem?
Mm-hmm.
And then in identifying that problem, then think about what are your options to resolve the problem. Because I do think that not every person who is single and searching for a relationship has the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to be thoughtful about what your particular brand of the issue is and figure out how to resolve that. And
that's a good point.
When it comes to the luck part of it, it is about like recognizing the right opportunity. And that only comes if you do all the other things. If you have awareness, if you have acceptance, and then you're actively working to change, like you won't even recognize a good opportunity. And I can say, even from my experience of dating the people and the fleet of people that I was dating when I was dating you, it was very clear who the best opportunity was. It wasn't something where I had to like weigh like, I don't know. I'm not sure. It was very clear, like, this choice is the best choice and it's going to lead me here. Yeah. Even with the idea of like, okay, like this person doesn't have the most dating experience. They probably want to play the field. They may not want to be in a relationship, but I know that I want to be in a relationship. That wasn't enough to deter me from even pursuing, And I think that certain people can get to a place where they're like, well, this doesn't look how I thought it was going to look, or it looks like this, so it's not a smart decision, so I won't pursue it. Mm-hmm. But you got to live and learn.
Oh my God. Topeka, Kansas. That's a reference. If you get it, you get it. Black people are risk averse.
They are. And love is a risky game.
Whoa.
Love is a game for
Black people in general are typically pretty risk averse. Very, very, not very, very, but conservative in a lot of aspects. That's not, we don't really talk about that too much, but
I think maybe even less risk averse, more loss aversion. Like the idea that I could potentially lose something is the thing that I think keeps people out of it. The risk of losing something can have a certain thrill, but like the idea of the risk of love seems like it has some benefits and some rewards. It's the loss, like the potential for me to lose something.
No one wants to take an L.
Nobody wants to take an L.
Yeah, no, but I don't know. It's just, I guess, what makes taking a potential L while trying to pursue and find your life partner, why is that harder than getting into crippling debt?
Wait. Damn, you shooting.
I'm just thinking, I was like, if we think about all the things that Black people are willing to do, that objectively is like, well, why would you do that? But then it's like, here's something that it could lead you to a more fulfilling life, family, and all that good stuff. But it's like, I'm a little.
I mean, I think all of it comes back to like psychology, like all of the things that we're taught, all of the things, our belief systems around love and relationship, our belief systems around money, and all of those things govern you until you have an awareness of them. So if you don't even know that you're active, and even I would say in love and relationships, that's probably the place where people are most aware. Like I didn't see, a man and a woman together growing up. I didn't have marriage in my family. I don't come from that. And people love to use that reason as an excuse for them to not pursue relationships.
That's what it is, though.
It is an excuse. So yeah, I think that it's those kind of belief systems that while people have an awareness and maybe an acceptance of, they don't necessarily have a desire to change. And without that desire to change, they don't stay right where they are.
That's true. I guess so. Kind of sad. But relationship Darwinism, I guess. Social Darwinism.
Go. Okay.
Social Darwinism.
Let's
All right,
switch
we ready?
this up.
We ready to get back into something a little. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what this next thing is going to be.
I
Hold
don't
up.
know either.
Oh God. You got.
Okay, this is about being needy.
Needy doesn't exist, just like too sensitive doesn't exist. There is no such thing as someone who's too needy. It does not exist. Let me give you an example. I had lunch today. Let's say we're eating pasta. We'll just chat and I'll be like, hey, yeah, so how was your day? Now, if I had walked the desert for 6 days, only surviving by drinking my own urine, and then I eventually found a house, and then they put a plate of pasta in front of me, the way that I would be eating that pasta and drinking that water would be vastly different when you and I were sat on the table. I'd be like, shoving it in and drinking the water, saying more water. My entire behavior would be different because my need for food and water would be so much higher, and that dictates my behavior. Now, in today's society, you'll see a lot of people that are being labeled as needy, and they are people that have not had what they rely on for survival, which is love, acceptance, connection, relationships, vulnerability, safety. They've not had any of this stuff for so long. They've been walking the emotional desert for so long, and they are starving of these things. So people label them as needy. That's why it doesn't exist, because when people are giving what they need, their behaviors completely change. This is how humans work. We use love, connection, and relationship as a survival mechanism. An infant would die 100% of the time on their own. So we actually use love, connection, and relationships as a way of surviving.
So, first, have you ever identified someone as needy or too needy?
Yes. But it wasn't like an objective needy. It was like too needy for me, or needier than me. Not necessarily like, oh, there's a problem with like you as a person because of this is your behavior. It's like, yo, this is more than I want to give you, or I'm willing to give you right now, or whatever. So I kind of put it. I understand like the I've always put it in kind of like in the context of like, yeah, this is more than me, or more than what I am looking for. Not necessarily like it's like somebody got what you need. It just ain't me.
I feel like I haven't identified anyone as needy, but I do feel like I have self-identified as needy before.
Okay. I mean, I've never really thought about it how he said it. I mean, you know, I've heard needy and I've identified, quote unquote needy anything, but I never really gave it too much thought or something like that. But which is kind of funny considering, I'm a therapist and stuff. But I know he kind of raises a good point. He raises a good point. And his analogy of just like walking through a desert, how you gonna act when you see some water, it's gonna be like vastly different than me, who I can walk 10 steps and press a button and water just comes out, on demand. So in that aspect, my man's spitting on that one. So I'm trying to. I was like, something don't sit right with what he said. I was like, technically, no, that's needy, gotta exist. But the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, damn, like you might have a point. I can't find any areas of like attack to like try to, but you're right. But this, so I think my man's just spitting facts on this one. I might find some flaw in that logic at some point in the future, but right now I don't see it. There's no such thing as a needy person. But I guess it kind of.
I guess the only thing that I would say in response to this is, yes, we do need love and connection for survival. But one of the ways that you temper your neediness is by giving those things to yourself. So in some regard, I do think that being being over reliant on others to
External
meet your
validations
needs,
and all that stuff.
yeah, can present as being too needy. And it doesn't mean that you don't have these needs. It just means that you also need to learn how to equip yourself with the tools to give yourself what you need. And that's where I feel like I identified as too needy. It's like, okay, like maybe I am asking too much of people around me, of my relationships, to give me things that I need when I am available as a resource to give those things to myself.
Nah, but you know what I'm saying? If they my soulmate, if they my meant to be,
Boy.
like they will be willing, and I shouldn't even be feeling like this with my soulmate. So this ain't it. So I gotta go ahead and blow this up and get up out of here and move on to my 151st 51st first date. That's a lot of goddamn first dates. My God, 150 first dates. I mean, that's light work for women. They gotta pay for it, but damn, 151, 150.
That is a lot of first dates. 50 first dates was the movie. They didn't even make it that hard.
That's crazy. And I'm not saying like that's wild, as in like, oh, she got too many bodies on. I mean, like 150 dates objectively. That's a lot of. That's exhausting. Like having to have the same conversation with different people 150 times.
That same like.
My God.
What do you do? How was your day?
At this point, it should be her shit should be amazing. Like her game should be fuego. She should be able to like tailor it to the person. Like, this is my first date. You know what I'm saying? Like tailor it. She got a cover letter. So like, hey,
she got a list of most impactful questions based off of her experience. If
she
they
should
say this.
She should be a phenomenal. That. She should be a phenomenal dater. First dater, phenomenal first dater.
Enough to get her a second date, hopefully. But that's not where I was going. Yeah. I was talking about I wanted to respond to what you said about, you know, if it's my soulmate, then I shouldn't be too needy for them. I think that any person that you're with is there to help you grow. So maybe you do have over reliance on or over dependence on that person to meet your needs. And instead of calling you needy, they will encourage you to do things to meet your own needs. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to call you needy or withhold anything that they can give you.
They're going to facilitate growth.
Yeah, but they're going to facilitate growth to make sure that you start to give the things that you need to yourself. And I do think you're right as well about that first part of like, okay, when you are engaging with someone, you get to choose like, okay, with what they need, do I have enough to be able to give them? Mm-hmm. And that's an important...
There can be a need. There can be a mismatch.
Yes, there we go.
And what you need and what the potential partner is willing to provide or can provide or what have you. You can like, I'm giving you all I got. Like, you need me to be, you know, I need to be in your presence all the time. I can't go hang out with my boys. I can't, every time I'm going somewhere, I'm gotta check in with you. And I'm like, So that's just an example. That first one that came to mind. But yeah, there would just be, it's just a mismatch. So I think he's right. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to recognizing the mismatch in desires or what have you between, you know, your partner. You gotta align on that aspect as well, because if it don't, that's not gonna make for a good relationship. But at the same time, if it's one of those like I'm looking for my partner to meet a bunch of needs that because I can't meet them for myself. So like you have to take on extra need, I guess, you know, for like a better term. Yeah, like a secure partner will be like that's a callback. Bring it back. A secure partner, attachment styles. A secure partner will like try to help facilitate and try to, you know, help you meet some of those needs on your own, and you know, hopefully empower you to look for solutions for these things on your own, irrespective of the love and attention or whatever it is that you need that your partner is providing to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you are I don't know if supposed to is the word that I want to use, but like it's okay to have needs in your relationship.
Absolutely.
Like that's a part of it. You should be giving and taking, and that's a part of why you're here. But while you were talking, it made me think of, you know, this idea of someone being in the emotional desert and not getting any other things that they need. Like, we talked about loneliness before and how that happens. But I also wonder if I was going to say a hole, but like if their time in the desert can stem as far back as their childhood, and how do you, I guess, how do you manage that, I guess? Or is it your responsibility to manage that as a partner? I mean, in some regard, I feel like, yes, you want them, you're a mirror, you're there to help facilitate their growth, like, but you can't do any of that work for them. So no, it's not your responsibility.
No, it's not. It's not your it's not your responsibility to be like the mental health coach of your partner. That's not what it is. Like, I feel like there's some overlap within the relationship where you may at times take on some of those things, like you said, like the mirror, just be like, hey, like I'm noticing this here. Like let's talk about it or what have you. But like in no shape or form are you supposed to be like the person who's like overseeing them and making sure like their mental health is always at tip top shape, and making sure that like they aren't triggered by some childhood trauma that la da 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 da. I was like, no, that's, as a whole full adult, like you are responsible for yourself and taking care of yourself. So it's like, so all I can do, like you say, is kind of point out and like, hey, I'm noticing this behavior, what's going on, and it's up to you to address it and fix it in the best way that you possibly can. And in that fixing, if it's not enough, or if it doesn't work with what your partner is looking for, then that's not going to work. You might meet a partner who's like won't have a problem and can grow with you and understand and is willing to provide the support through that until you reach whatever that self-actualization or whatever that healing point is for you. Or maybe you don't reach healing, and then it was like, yeah, I just learned to manage and do that. That can happen for you, but you can't expect like everybody that you encounter or any potential partner to be like okay with that. Like, I will hope that you are doing everything you're doing everything that you can to come to me as whole as you possibly can. Obviously, there's things that you're not going to know, that are issues that you're not going to see until you're in a relationship, because when you're in a relationship, shit that never would have been a problem, or things that will pop up and makes you recognize like, oh shit, I have these behaviors or these thought patterns or something that like while I was single did not impact me in any way, but now it is impacting my partner because of it's not working. So oh shit, I need to address that, and it's up to you to be like, okay, I'm going to address it because I care about my partner and the relationship, or just be like no, and then you got to deal with the consequences of what that is.
I like it. That was good. It's your responsibility to show up to me as whole as possible. Yeah,
and maintain it.
That's
and maintain it. Like, so a lot of people will show up and just be like, here's my shit. Good luck, my boy. Run it. Make sure the ship is running tip top shape. That's not true. So yeah, like, my guys, show up as whole and as put together as you possibly can that's within your control, and then obviously you're not going to be able to address everything because you're not going to know about some of the things until you get into the situation. But when that situation happens, it is completely within your responsibility and your power to address them and make it, address it. Same thing with my girls, my women. Yo, address your problems, maintain yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking physically, mentally, more mental than physical. Because the physical, we can see that. We can make a conscious decision to be like, okay, we're going to work with this or not. But the mental, that's invisible until you in it. And a lot of people be hiding that shit.
That's real. And the reason that they hide it, call back to last week, is because they're not vulnerable. They're not offering things up. They're honest if you ask, and maybe they're a little bit transparent.
That's what I was talking to.
Sorry. Maybe they're a little bit transparent, but they are not vulnerable. And that's why vulnerability is so important.
Or they're honest, but it's just like, they never asked, so I ain't never gonna tell you.
Yup. And that's a wrap.
All right. All right, y'all.
Beautiful, guys.
We appreciate y'all tuning in to another episode of the Buffet Podcast, episode 93.
I can't wait till we get to the 99s and the 2000s.
To the 99, damn. 99 and 2000, that's a lot. It's a big gap, but I know what you're saying. Not the 99 and the 100, maybe?
Well, yeah, but it's the same.
Yeah, the 99 and the 2000. We're going to take over for the 99 and 2000. That's real. All right, y'all. Once again, we'll see y'all next time. We're going to be taking a little break next week because we take breaks around here. So we'll see y'all in a couple. We'll see y'all in a couple of weeks if we feel like it. Y'all be good. I wish y'all nothing but success and abundance and health in all that you do.
Yeah. See y'all next week.
Peace.
Bye.